Last thing to talk about here is heat transfer by radiation. And the concept is this: there's a heat transfer that's happening anytime you are not at 0 Kelvin. So if you're at 1 Kelvin, and most of us are, solidly above that, right? If you're above 0 Kelvins, you're going to be radiating photons. And the reason you radiate energy is that on the surface of every atom there are electrons, and electrons are negatively charged. And when they vibrate back and forth, as is the case when they have thermal energy, right? As they vibrate back and forth, the electric field is changing. It's here, and then it's here, and then it's here, and then it's here. And that's how you make electromagnetic waves, is you just move a charge. If you accelerate a charge, you generate these waves. And this is called black body radiation, or BBR, baby, right? And this black body radiation travels out. And this is, you can feel this. My favorite thing is if you're ever walking and there's a building and this faces west and the sun sets over here, right? It'll warm this building up. And then when the sun sets, if you walk past the building, I don't know if you've ever felt it, but it's like suddenly you just feel this warmth. Your body has infrared absorbers, and things that are just sort of warm and at normal temperatures that we can touch are radiating infrared. And you can feel it. You can't see it, but you can feel that infrared. So if you take a poker out of a fire, right, that glow, that's black body radiation, right? If you take a glowing red hot piece of the old incandescent light bulbs, that was a lot of it was just infrared, but there was visible light, right? If you've stood by a bonfire, like at homecoming or something like that, you know how it's weird, right? You can see your breath in the air, yet you're so close to the fire that you can barely stand it. The air is cold. The air is not heating you up, right? You can see your breath in it. It must be cold. It's condensing the moisture in your breath, right? Yet you feel burning hot, and you're feeling burning hot because the photons of heat from the fire are hitting you, right? Obviously, this is how energy gets from the sun to us. This is all radiant heat. And then the last thing I'll have you think about is frost, right? On a cold, frosty day, right? It has to be a clear night. Notice it's usually a clear night, and there's a tree. Like, look under the trees, right? Got a tree like this, right? Notice that there's no frost underneath these trees, okay? And that's because the cold night sky is very, very cold and doesn't radiate much energy down, right? There's energy transfer both ways, from the sky to the ground, ground to the sky, right? And from the cold night sky, there's just very little, right? Whereas the tree is fairly warm and kind of blocks the cold night sky. So you don't get frost under the tree, but you will get frost outside like this, right? Things that are exposed to the night sky are cold. That's why if you sleep out in a sleeping bag without a tent over you, you get so much colder, even if it's not a windy night. And they actually make, like Columbia makes these little things that are silver lined to reflect the heat back to you. And I don't know if that's terribly effective, but it's an example of radiation. Oh, radiation also, by the way, is why you preheat your oven. If you've got those burners on the bottom, you have to preheat the oven before you put your cookies in, or the radiation will burn your cookies. In the same way that you can stand by a bonfire, right, and the air's not hot, but you're burning up. The air can be not up to the 400 degrees or 350, right? But the photons from those burners can be just frying the crap out of your cookies, right? This is just some pictures of stuff that you use outdoors to prevent radiation. This is a picture of me wearing firefighter's pants. I just kind of, took I didn't want my face in the picture, right? But, I wear these on special occasions too, for like dances and stuff. But yeah, those are reflective pants, and they work really, really well. This is like one of those thermal blankets. This is one of those tiny space blankets, and they work amazingly well. Firefighters will carry actually a little shelter that's kind of like this, that lets them kind of hunker down. As long as a burning tree doesn't fall on their head, they're in pretty good shape. This is a Columbia lined thing. If you look at it, it's tiny little circles of reflective stuff if you look at it really closely. This sleeping bag is silver lined. You really can't see it. I guess that's not a great graphic. All right, good enough. That's all I'm going to say about radiation. We'll go back and look at this formula in some detail. So